Talking Texas here at the Voice of College Football. And of course, the Horns have a huge one with Bama in Austin for an 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff on Fox. We got our two post-game hosts right here. So, folks, we got Texas post-game for you each and every week at the Voice of College Football on the Texas channel with D4 Sports and also with Matthew Miller. Guys, how we doing today?
Doing good.
All right, let's talk about Texas and this performance against Louisiana Monroe. What can we take from that?
Coming out party for Quinn Ewers. He progressively did better as the game went on. He had a hiccup at first, went 0 for 2, then hit 7 of 7, his next 7 passes, and then finished the half, I believe, 11 of 14. So he grew comfortable as the game went on. Like I said, the one hiccup, the interception, ill-advised throw to begin, and another coming out party to Savion Sanders. Big part of this offense moving forward, and it was great to see those two young guys interject themselves into the game and come out with a W.
Yeah, 100%. When we talked after the game on our post-game show, I mentioned 3 guys that really stood out to me. It was Jatavion Sanders, Barron Sorrell, and Quinn Ewers, and they played really well in the game. Quinn Ewers, obviously, like Brandon said, bounced back from the early interception, and you're going to make mistakes as a young player, young quarterback, even a veteran at times, and it's how you respond from those mistakes, and Quinn Ewers responded very well. And then Jatavion Sanders popped right away, becoming Quinn Ewers' favorite target, it seemed like, in that first game. And Barron Sorrell really popped off the screen as a consistent pass rusher, and we really need that. We need someone to step up in that, because last year, I believe the highest sack total we had for a player was 4 or 4.5 by Ben Davis, and he barely played. So we really need someone to step up and get a consistent pass rush.
So the big picture is obviously you've got two ends of the spectrum when it comes to accomplishments in college football for the last 10 or 12 years in terms of the big programs. You got Alabama, they're the gold standard. Nobody is ever going to question their ability to play under pressure, big stage, big game, anything like that. Then you got Texas, which, Florida State's down, Florida's down, LSU's been down for the last couple of years, but they've all won relatively recently to a certain extent, and FSU's not recruiting anywhere close to Texas's recruiting rankings in recent years. So I cannot think, and there is certainly not a program in college football like Texas right now, where from a recruiting standpoint, talent standpoint, all these guys are super, super talented. You've got individual guys like Xavier Worthy, Overshawn on defense, who have accomplished as players individually, but collectively, they've done nothing. They've accomplished nothing on the field. And now they get Bama at home. This is just an intriguing matchup to see if can Texas put it all together, maybe not necessarily win the game, but show that they can go toe-to-toe and be competitive in this kind of matchup.
I think we can be competitive under certain circumstances and for certain periods of the game. I don't know if we can be competitive for the whole game. And what I mean by that is I think if the weather got hot enough, if we played our A game, and if our defense stepped up to a level we haven't seen around here in a little bit, then we could be competitive for most of the game. But at the end of the day, I think Alabama just has too much depth and talent. I think they do pull away. And if you're talking just like based on talent, I think Alabama and Texas offensively are probably even talent-wise. Where it stands out is defensively, it's not close. Alabama is far superior defensively. They have the best player in college football, and Will Anderson coming off the edge. And another issue with that is who he's matched up against. He's going to be matched up against most likely our left tackle, who is Kelvin Banks, a 5-star freshman, but he is a freshman, and it will be a second game played. So it's really going to be hard. And not to mention we have another guard coming in, 4-star, highly rated again, but a freshman. So 2 freshmen on the offensive line versus Dallas Turner, Will Anderson, Henry To'oTo'o. You have Will Anderson and Dallas Turner combined for 26 sacks last year between the two of them. So it's going to be quite a battle up front for us, and I think that's where they really have us.
I would 100% agree with that. We're going to need, as Matthew alluded to, the perfect storm. We're going to need Alabama to play their C game, us play our A game. I will say this, and I've said this all week leading up to this game, that Alabama will see the best running back that they have seen, that they will and have seen all year. They will see one of the best receivers that they will see all year. And I think we have the playmakers to keep up with them on offense, but like Matthew said, our defense is the problem. I don't think we have the depth, and I think they have the superior talent when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, and they have matchup nightmares that we will struggle with.
Matthew touched upon, well, he actually went to the specific matchup with Anderson and Banks. I'll go take it a little bit wider to kind of the general nightmare scenario is Texas's worst unit on the field, at least in recent years. They've recruited the hell out of it the last couple of years, but still the players haven't played yet and proven that they can be that good against an Alabama front, not just Will Anderson, Dallas Turner on the other side, one of the best in the business, who benefits from the attention given to Anderson. Just, the Alabama defensive front against the Texas offensive line in general.
Yeah, 100%. I think our offensive line and our linebacking core is our weakest unit. And I think going forward, it will be a strength. Like you said, we recruited the hell out of it. We had 7 guys recruited in this last class, one of the best probably recruiting classes in the history of offensive lines. And you have Devon Campbell and those guys sitting on the bench waiting for their turn. But right now, it's just not up to snuff. And there is a nightmare scenario to where Texas not only can lose this game, but also lose momentum going forward in the season because this offensive line just gets killed and their confidence gets destroyed. And then also in turn with that, if that happens, there's a chance that ruins Quinn Ewers for a little bit too. So we don't want that to happen. As a Texas fan, what I expect, and I think most of the fan base expect, is just be competitive. Make this like a 42-24 game. We'll go home happy with that. No injuries, no major injuries, and have these guys play pretty well. And we're all fine with that. That's what we want in this game. We want to build towards the future.
Another matchup that has me very, very worried is the Jake Majors at center. With DJ Dale and Otis at that nose guard position, he struggles with huge nose tackles that absolutely fill the gap and everything. And that's what I'm worried about as well at the center position, talking about our offensive line.
And the coaches are worried about that too, just in general, because if you look to the offseason, they tried multiple times, like Junior Anglaw, slide him over to center. And I think they're really trying to push Majors out. And you kind of saw that. We talked about this in the postgame show as well. Like, he had a snap infraction. He's a junior. He should not be having snap infractions as a junior in college football. Like, that's freshman type mistakes. You don't get any of those when you're a junior. So that's worrisome. And you saw this in the Arkansas game last year. Arkansas had a smaller defensive line than Alabama did, and he got pushed around quite a bit. And he was kind of really not the same after the game, after the season. He played pretty well coming into that game, and after that, he was kind of shell-shocked.
Most people are going to assume that every unit on the field, every matchup on the field is going to either lean Alabama heavily or otherwise, or at the best is going to be a stalemate. Where do you see Texas possibly having some kind of an advantage?
I think our wide receivers can have an advantage. I really believe that, yeah. I think with Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, Casey Kane, those guys, I really think we have an advantage there. Alabama cornerbacks are very good. Obviously, Eli Ricks coming over from LSU transferring, he's very talented. But the thing is, I just feel like if you're going to boil it down to what do you think, where do I think we do have an advantage, that's the one I would point to. That, and also I think Jatavian Sanders can take advantage of their linebackers in coverage at some point. He's a big, strong guy, fast, great athlete. He was the number 1 athlete coming out of high school when he came out. So I think that'd be another advantage as well as the wide receivers and tight end.
And I will agree, wide receivers and tight ends, but I think we have one of the best running back rooms in the country as well, if not the best running back in the country. Roschon Johnson, his leadership, his the way he runs, toughness. I mean, we go 4 deep at running back, and every one of them can tote that rock.
Matthew, you and I discussed before we started to record, Texas tight end Jaleel Billingsley did not have a reception in the first game, but was supposed to be a component in the Texas offense, but he is suspended for this one.
Yeah, he suspended 6 games. Sark said that after the game for whatever. He didn't even say what it was for. He just said it was an incident at Alabama. And D4 and I were discussing that, like, why did this guy transfer when he's number 4 on the depth chart here at Texas? And then that's announced. So that makes sense. I don't know what it's for. I don't know why we're paying the sins for what he did at Alabama. That's funny because we play them, and in turn, they basically got rid of the guy that we could have used and then we can't use against them. So that's nice. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. It sucks because he's definitely one of those guys that can take advantage of like linebackers in coverage, and he's too big for safety. So he's kind of him and Jatavian Sanders out there together would have definitely helped, but it is what it is.
You guys, in terms of Texas going even beyond this game, was there anything that you saw in week one that makes you feel better or worse about Texas's prospects? Again, not just against Alabama, because this is a long shot, but for success in the Big 12.
I would say Kelvin Banks, him and the young guys on defense that played very well and stepped up in roles, especially our two safeties who are new to the position. They stepped up in the role. Gilbo on defense. Just young guys filling in that role, and I was especially excited for Kelvin Banks, who stepped in that role and played it fantastically at left tackle, being a true freshman. That's what I'm excited about. These young guys getting meaningful snaps, preparing for Big 12 play, and just getting after it.
Yeah, that's what I was impressed with too. All these guys that we're looking forward to playing as young guys played well. Calvin Banks played well. Cole Hudson played pretty well for the most part. Jatavian Sanders played very well. Barron Sorrell, like I said, on defense really popped for me as a pass rusher. And then, like you said, Jalen Gilbo was highly graded for the Texas defense coming in and playing. So a lot of the young guys stepped up, played really well, and that's what we want to see is these guys come in and play well right away and then just progress throughout their career. And I don't think the Big 12, like we've discussed in previews, D4 and I have, about there's not like a top-tier team in the Big 12. I think there's 5 teams that could possibly win the Big 12, and we're one of them. And I think we have a shot as long as, like I said, this game just doesn't totally ruin our season. And we also can't allow that to ruin our season. What we did last year is we'd allow these games, we'd blow them, and then we just let the snowball continue to roll down the hill. I'm hoping that this year, if a game like that were to happen where we either blow a lead or we get blown out, that we continue to push forward and trust in our training and trust in with the culture that we've built and move forward and continue to progress.
An effective offensive approach is going to be in this game. Your best player is a running back, but you can't hand it to him 30 times and expect to win. You got to be creative to a certain extent, take shots, but obviously be risk averse at the same time. So there's a balancing act there. You can't have him sitting in the pocket waiting for, Whittington or Worthy to sprint 50 yards for a bomb because he's going to be a sitting duck. So there's a lot to consider there in terms of, again, being aggressive, but calculated at the same time to spare your defense and try to keep Bryce Young on the sideline too.
I think a lot of smoke and mirrors. I've talked about this as well. Like, you're going to have to do a lot of misdirection, a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of reverses, a lot of screens. Get your best guys out there, period. I don't care if you have to put 3 running backs out there. If you believe those are the best guys to attack the defense, get them out there. And we have speed to play with, so get that speed in open field and try to and make them miss as many tackles as possible. That's one thing we do see in college football because you don't have preseason. The first couple games, teams are not great at tackling. So get that ball in space. Make them try to tackle you in space with the athletes we have. When you do drop back to pass and go deep, do it off of a play action or a bootleg off of Will Anderson's side. If I was Texas, I'm chipping him the first 30 plays of the game. I want to beat the crap out of him the whole first half, get him tired, and then if you want to take and then let him play one-on-one with Kelvin Banks, I'd be fine with that. But do not leave him early one-on-one with Kelvin Banks.
Yeah, you got to get those jitters out, and I trust in Sark's schemes. I believe he's going to put Quinn Ewers in the correct situations when it comes to this game. We are going to have to establish the run game with Bijan and Roschon and those guys, but I also think that's going to open up play action if we have success early. And right now, being a freshman right guard and a freshman left tackle, I believe that is going to be their strong suit is run blocking. Pass blocking comes with, as you get more experience, but run blocking, they know how to do it. They've been doing it since they were 5 years old. They know how to go, so I expect us to establish the run and Sark's scheme to take over against secondary has not been tested.
The obvious defensive approach might be play it safe, don't let them beat you deep, let them make a mistake, a penalty, a negative play, then throws them off their game to a certain extent, although Alabama can obviously convert 3rd and 12 in their sleep to a certain extent, but the percentages go your way. If you can make one negative play, at least make them drive it, 75. Is that basically the concept you guys are thinking?
I Okay, so I have two schools of thought here. I either want to blitz the absolute hell out of them for 4 quarters and just try to kill Bryce Young, basically, or I want to do exactly what Notre Dame did to Ohio State: rush 3 every time. Guess what will give you 4 to 5 yards, and you're going to have to go 80 yards every single drive, or 75 yards every single drive, with these little 4 to 5 yard cuts against our defense and score. I want one of those two. I don't want to play this middle game. If you want to try one out in the first half and it's not working and then go complete the opposite second half, I'm fine with that. But I want one of those two schools of thoughts. That's where I'm coming from, at least.
I'd rather lose aggressive than play conservative. That's just this old school, defensive coach in me. I'd rather be very, very aggressive and go that way. I don't want Jahmyr Gibbs to beat me. This receiving core for Alabama is virtually unproven other than Jermaine Burton. So, make the Heisman winner beat you.
That is the one thing I will agree to. If you look at their wide receivers, this is the weakest wide receivers that Alabama's had in actually quite a while. They don't have an explosive guy like Waddle or a Jamison Williams that just absolutely takes the top off the defense. At least they don't have a proven one. So if our corners can hold up, I really do. That's what really makes me excited. If our wide receivers beat their corners and our cornerbacks hold up versus their wide receivers, we're going to have a game that I think people didn't expect. That's the one scenario where I do think, wow, we can surprise people.
And all you have to do is go back to last year's national championship. There was no John Mechie on the field, and Jamison Williams was lost in the second quarter, and Bryce Young was hitting guys between the numbers, and they were not calling in the plays. They could have won that championship game with 3 or 4 not dropped passes. So those guys are in the mix now. So we shall see.
And one of those guys in the mix is on our team, Jai Hall. Hopefully he can have like a revenge game. That'd be nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy that Coach Saban raved about in last spring being basically the best receiver on the roster, and Alabama fans want to, we didn't need him. He wasn't nothing. He wasn't talented. Yeah, when your head coach is saying that he's the most talented receiver on your roster, that's saying something.
B4 Sports, let us know what you got available over there.
I'm doing game previews for about 15 teams every week, and I'm also have a show 8 p.m. Every Wednesday night, AAA college football across America, where we do pick'ems and talk about the games coming up. So
nice.
Come check it out.
B4 Sports, get on over there, check out his channel. We got D4 and also Matthew Miller here for Texas Post Game after every Longhorns game right here at the Voice of College Football. Guys, we appreciate you stopping by, breaking this one down.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us, Mark.
Yes, sir.